while you're doing that, I'm going to just confirm to people real quick. I got some documents pulled up. This is a June 2024 report, Switzerland second edition, labeled Swiss Digital Asset Custody Report 2024. Zurich Banking Association is, listed right here on this report. So I'd assume that it's from systemically important people to some degree, like people that obviously, of course, have many more credentials than myself, and most of the people probably listening. So this is information. Again, I share this stuff so that way people pay attention to the real stuff, right? And so if we scroll right down here, there's a portion of this, just one little tiny key sentence. And it's, again, just a little tiny gem for people that are distracted by individuals on the, let's just say crypto space or influencer space that tell people that crypto's dead.
I think that we'll continue to make progress. I think, certainly over the last 12 to 18 months, there's been significant progress off the back of, probably a lot of negativity. But I mean, the reality is you're always going to have, in any situation, you're going to have bad actors, and those things are going to make the headlines. So I don't think that becomes kind of the way to identify kind of the whole digital asset space or crypto space. But I think progress will continue to be made.
Well, I think, is that fair? I think it is a fair question. And I think there's good reasons for it, right? I mean, if you look at what happened in the marketplace with FTX, with 3 Arrows Capital, with Terra Luna, there were a lot of really bad headlines around the crypto industry over the past couple of years, right? Crypto was clearly in the penalty box for a while. It wasn't perceived as something that was maybe even going to survive, let alone something that had good uses. I mean, if you looked at the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times every day, the headlines were terrible. But what happened in the past 6 months is we've actually emerged from that really bad period of time. And we've come out strong. The organizations in this space that are working on policy have really developed. We didn't have Stand With Crypto, for example, that has over 700,000 grassroots activists signed up to call their members of Congress when an opportunity arises. That group wasn't here a couple of years ago. We didn't have the Fair Shake Super PAC a couple of years ago. The Blockchain Association was here, but we were a lot smaller than we were today, right? I think if you look at all of the companies, the Coinbases of the world, the Krakens, some of the larger funds, they'll have teams in Washington now. This didn't exist a couple of years ago. So we're now in this place where we have all of the pieces that are needed to effectively engage in the process. And we're at a level of maturity that we didn't have before. So I think
it says, after years of mostly skeptical stances by traditional financial ecosystem players, 2023 showed that interest from private investors with digital assets was here to stay and cannot be ignored any longer. I'll play 2 more things and I'll pass it back to Mr. Aqua. So again, this is from a Swiss banking industry right here. I mean, it says right here, Zurich Banking Association, Switzerland, second edition. And you guys remember this video that I played. This was back on July 12th. So a couple days ago, got 20,000 impressions. Listen to what this individual says about them incorporating crypto, because you have a lot of people that are like, oh, these banks aren't going to adopt crypto. They're just going to use blockchain and never, ever going to incorporate crypto into the banking system, right? So I just showed you guys a document from a Swiss organization telling you all crypto cannot be ignored. And then here, you're going to listen to this gentleman. Let me share my screen. He goes on to say that they are integrating crypto into the core banking infrastructure, right? Take a second and listen to this guy real quick.
What's it looking like for the traditional financial systems to be able to build this new infrastructure and integrate it well with the traditional setups?
The question addressed to me, Taurus, of course, has an important part to play as well there. On the side of the banks, as we are quite fortunate, as I mentioned, many of the traditional banks are now already adopted cryptocurrencies into their core banking systems. This is very notable because what that means is most banks in Switzerland, with the exception of one that I know, actually set it up like securities. When you have a cryptocurrency in a core banking system, it's set up like a security. And that means that from a processes perspective, the hurdle for the bank to integrate into the digital asset space is a lot of the work has already been done.
A lot of the work has already been done, and cryptocurrencies are already integrated into the core banking system. They're just not using them yet. It's right. So obvious to see, bro. And then so to let Mr. Aqua transition over into DeFi. So now we've confirmed that financial institutions are interested. We've confirmed that financial institutions have integrated crypto into their core banking infrastructure. Now, before we transition over to DeFi, let me confirm to you all that financial institutions are for a fact interested in DeFi, right? So we don't put any information out to the general public that's just like our own opinion to some degree. I mean, there's some opinions of ours that we release, but the vast amount of information that we put out and the CYPRX Well 28 Club and to our private members is all research based. So here is a report labeled The Road to Institutional DeFi from Northern Trust, Deutsche Bank Corporate Bank, right? So, I mean, you know, I'll just leave it at that. So right down here at the bottom, it says, DeFi, where to next? So we're just going to read this real quick, and then I'll pass the stick over to Mr. Aqua. The light bulb did not evolve from a continuous improvement of candles, but came from a continuous improvement of alternative technologies to address the shortcoming of wax-made candles. If we reflect on the above and believe in the potential power of a broadly regulated or institutional version of DeFi, we must accept that it needs a core set of tenets and standards and prerequisites, obviously, of course, capabilities to be built into the fabric of that ecosystem. Realistically, only then will institutional players adopt it as a new growth vehicle and move forward with sufficient safeguards as well as regulatory certainty, which we know is an environment that is 110% coming, right? 2024 looks to be a defining moment after what has already been a tumultuous period for all forms of DeFi. Regulatory implementation is a driving force which will continue to determine the velocity of institutional interest and adoption in the digital domain. It could be argued that DeFi amplifies the challenge of risk management, anti-money laundering, and informative privacy. However, when considered in conjunction with the opportunity that institutional DeFi presents, including financial inclusion, it's hard to ignore its potential benefits for new products, services, and operating models in the future of the digital asset-first financial industry. So now you have two documents, one from a Swiss banking organization telling you that they're not going to ignore crypto. This gentleman just told you that crypto is being integrated into the core banking system. And this document just told you that in order for them to adopt these technologies, regulatory clarity has to become prevalent, right? And that it says right here, it's hard to ignore the potential benefits of what? Of these new products like DeFi. This is 110% proof, ladies and gentlemen, that this is happening. Like, I don't know what else to show you. So last but not least, it says the industry is now at a post proof of concept phase.
So I think that one of the biggest issues that this industry had, specifically related to this technology, is that 5 years ago, there were so many promises on how this is going to change the world, but there was nothing to show for it. So a lot of people really put this technology into the bucket of, you know, a bunch of crypto bros that are just pumping coins. I think now you're actually able to show demonstrable use cases, not even use cases. I think when you say use cases, it sounds still like an experiment, but actual asset classes that are processing hundreds of billions of dollars of transactions on a daily basis. You're seeing reconciliation being reduced. You're seeing operational risk being reduced, settlement risk being reduced. So I think that having these other asset classes that are already using the technology in real life is helping, at least for digital asset, when we're having conversations with the Fed, with the OCC, and with regulators globally to say, look, this is not a pipe dream. This is actual reality. And guess
that requires that visible and successful live products graduate into scaled up commercial products. This transition will help crystallize the benefits, whether in cost efficiencies or new growth, and further advance the journey along the institutional DeFi road. So I'll drop the mic right there and I'll pass it over to Mr. Agua.